Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. In today's video we are going to be talking about the criteria required for doing a stem cutting, because sometime back someone had asked me this question: what are the things to be kept in mind while doing a stem cutting of any succulent for that matter. For this video I'll be taking an example of my Graptopetalum. I'll put up the entire name on the screen. So as you can see, the shape is very compact. The reason is because it gets a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, at times even 7 hours of direct sunlight. It's completely acclimated. And the reason why I thought I will do a stem cutting, ideally I didn't want to do a stem cutting, but just to show you guys in this video, I thought I'll do a stem cutting. You can see the stem is kind of bending downwards, so I thought I will give it a cut and kind of again train it to grow straight, but right now it's a little bit bent towards one side. Now the important thing that you need to keep in mind is whether your succulent is dormant or not. Now most of the Graptopetalums, or all of the Graptopetalums, are summer dormant succulents. Luckily in my city, as I've said this ample amount of times, my succulents do not get affected with dormancy or non-dormancy, because both the summer and the winters, they do not have a very extreme temperature. Summers will range anywhere from 33 degrees Celsius up to 34 degrees Celsius. So the succulents are quite comfortable because this is not out of their comfort zone. The same thing goes with the winters as well. Minimum temperature can drop down to 19 degrees Celsius. But generally it is between 20 to 21 degrees Celsius, which again is not out of their comfort zone. They are very happy, whether it's summers or whether it's winters. They do quite well. I haven't seen a very strict dormancy in my succulents. They keep growing. In fact, most of my succulents, they even tend to bloom in the opposite season. For example, if it's a Graptopetalum, I have seen some of my Graptopetalum that tend to bloom during the summers. I will show you the Graptovaria marpin, which was blooming. I will show it to you in some time. But this is overall what I wanted to give you an information about my environment. My succulents do not go in a strict dormancy. This one in particular tends to go dormant during the summers for people who are from a very extreme environment wherein, the summer heat is too much. Most probably your succulents might go into dormancy, but mine don't. So I tend to do cutting throughout the year, whether it's dormant, whether it's non-dormant, I do a cutting. So this is something that you have to keep in mind, because I'm not very sure what kind of environment you have. So you have to check accordingly. So now I will go ahead and do a cutting. Another important thing, you can see my succulent, there is not even a single wrinkle on the leaf. It is very well hydrated. All the leaves are very fresh. They're very plump. There is good amount of water. This is another important pointer that you need to keep in mind. Whenever you are doing a stem cutting or any kind of cutting on any succulent, ensure that the succulent is well hydrated. The reason behind that is when we are going to cut the stem, it is going to be kept out of the soil. There won't be any roots on the succulent, so the succulent has to completely rely on the water or the moisture that is present inside the leaves. And by the time that water starts getting depleted from the succulent leaves, by then the roots will appear. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Ensure that your succulent is well hydrated. So now I will go ahead and do a cutting. Now you will be able to see I will be cutting it over here. Now, if you are a beginner, I would say give it a little bit more stem, just to be on the safer side, because in case if something goes wrong and your stem cutting during the process of callus starts to rot, or there is some kind of issue, you can still have an option to cut the stem even more. Now, because I am very well versed with stem cutting, I have been doing this for a couple of years. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a very small piece of this stem over here. And that's about it. Now, as I said, if you're a beginner, you can use a little bit more stem. That is absolutely fine, because in case, let's say tomorrow something goes wrong, you can see my stem is very green, it's very juicy, which means that it's a very healthy stem. But let's say when you do a stem cutting, you tend to see it's darker in color or it's turned black. You can keep cutting it until and unless you don't see it is more green on the inner side of the stem. Now, this is the remaining portion which we are going to leave it as it is. We are not going to do anything. Eventually there will be pups on this as well, so we are going to keep it aside. This is going to be kept in indirect bright light because we do not want to dehydrate the stem. Even this is going to be kept in indirect bright light, but right now I will be very careful with this for at least 2 to 3 days, or let's say for 3 to 4 days, because this is the period of callus. We have to callus this open cut. It has to get dried. It will turn white in color, or it will turn light brown in color once it has calloused. So that is how you tend to do a stem cutting. The succulent is very well hydrated, as you can see, not even a single wrinkle. Succulent looks in its best health, and this is the right time to do a stem cutting. Now either this will turn lighter in color, or it might turn light brown in color. It should not turn black in color, or it should not be mushy. If it turns mushy, if it turns darker in color, you'll have to go ahead and slice it a little bit until and unless you don't see it green in color. This is the most important thing. But if you're going to keep it in dry place with a good amount of air circulation, do not keep it in direct sunlight. Within 3 days, within 4 days, this thing will callus, and that's good to go. But what I tend to do is, even after it has calloused, I still keep it out for it to have air roots. But let's say you do not want it to air root, you want to put it into the soil once the callus period is done. You can put it into the soil, or you can just keep it on. I don't have an empty pot right now, so I'm just going to show it to you over here. So what you can do is you can just keep it on the top layer of soil like this. Don't push it deep into the soil, because you want to ensure that the roots are present. So you can just keep it on the upper layer of soil or on a dry surface. Once you notice that the roots have appeared, then you can push it into the soil. Because always remember, once the callus is done, you still cannot water it because there are no roots present. There is no point in watering the soil, because the succulent stem without roots will not be able to absorb that moisture or the water, which can lead to rot. So you have to be extremely careful. I won't say that it will rot, but there is a high chance it will rot. So we do not want to take any chance. So guys, as you can see, it is pretty simple to do a stem cutting. All you have to do is ensure your environment, your climate is suitable. The succulent is not in its dormant stage. The succulent is very well hydrated. There are no wrinkles, so that, because we don't know how long will it take for it to root. Maybe it might take 1 week, maybe it might take 2 weeks or 3 weeks. For some people it might even take a month. So you need to understand that the succulent leaves should have enough water, should have that enough capacity of water for it to sustain until the roots appear. Because once the roots appear, then you're going to put it into the soil. Then the roots will be able to absorb moisture or water from the soil. Until then, the succulent is going to be completely dependent on whatever water is present in the leaves. So you have to ensure that the succulent is completely hydrated before you go ahead and do a stem cutting. So that's all about it, guys. Both of these are going to be kept in indirect bright light. We will wait. This again will take the same time. Both of them will take around 2 or 3 days for it to callus. Even this green portion that you see will start to get lighter brown in color, and probably after 2 weeks or 3 weeks there will be pups coming up on the stem. We have to offer the same process. We are going to keep it in indirect bright light because the pups are going to be very small. Direct sunlight will burn them, so we are going to keep them in indirect bright light, which has a good amount of intensity. Anything above 2000 lux is going to work out really well. This one is going to be kept in indirect bright light until it starts getting those air roots. Once the air roots are present, I will put it into the soil. I will not water it the same day. I will still wait for another 2 or 3 days, or depending on how hydrated or dehydrated the succulent is. I'll still continue to keep it in indirect bright light because the new roots will be slowly starting to emerge. The succulent is not completely established with new roots, so we have to keep it in indirect bright light. Probably after a month or so, then I will do a slow introduction to morning direct sunlight. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.